welcome to the show. As always, it's Fran, Excell mindset coach, helping you find your very own pair of positive pants so you can get out of your own way and live a life that you really love. Today's topic has been inspired by a call I was on with a lovely lady in my group who was talking about her fear of failure and how much that holds her back. So I said, right, I'm going to make some content for you. So here it is. That is what this is. So why am I saying there is no such thing as failure? There really is no such thing as failure. What? I hear you cry. Of course there's such a thing as failure. I'm absolutely freaking terrified of it. I hear you. I do. It's exactly the way I used to think. I feel your pain. I understand. I used to get this, I used to let this huge fear of failure hold me back from doing, well, pretty much anything I wanted, most of the things I wanted to. I'd think to myself, like, what if I fail? What if people see me fail? Oh my God, what if I look stupid and everyone judges me and I have to sushi roll myself into the duvet and hide for the rest of my life? You know? The thing is when you think of failure as being this huge, awful thing that you can never come back from, you know, you think that things will never, ever, ever be the same again if you fail, then of course you're going to fear it. But is that the only way you can look at it? You know what? Things will never be the same again, but in a good way. So take it from someone who is actually pretty familiar with good old failure, in inverted commas. It really can be and usually is a good thing. When you can trust that, and you can trust that there's nothing to fear, you can get on your merry way to taking the action, making the progress, having the results, and failing forwards. If you stay fearing failure, then you will always stay stuck. You're not going to be able to take the actions you need to get where you want to go. Those big dreams that you have will stay just that, dreams. But if you can try to look at failure as an opportunity for growth, as an opportunity to learn, I do. So really, I don't think there is any such thing as failing. I really, really don't. The definition of failure is a lack of success. But if something's not quite gone according to plan, is that really what you're left with? Would other people think the same way as you? We all have these different barometers of what failure and success mean to us. And it's completely individual to us. At the end of the day, doing what you're doing, you are backing yourself. You've backed yourself and you're trying something, usually something that a lot of other people wouldn't back themselves to try in the first place. So you are already a freaking winner, already, just by the fact that you're putting those reps in, just by the fact that you're trying. There are so many people that are so scared they won't even try, and that's not you. So one thing I want you to try and remember is that our brains like certainty, and I talk about this a lot. And this is not something that comes easily when we're doing something that's new or outside of our comfort zones. We're also, as humans, predisposed to look at the negative, which is handy, super handy. Cheers for that. So when we fear failure, we're looking at all the possible ways it could go wrong and what that would mean or potentially mean for us. But, as I'm always saying, it hasn't happened yet. So you really do have a lot more control over how you think and therefore feel about it if you just challenge your thought processes. We all have a massively different opinion and definition of what failure actually means to us. So question yourself on how you think about it. Ask other people how they see it. Get curious. Now, I've talked a lot about how fear is essentially false evidence appearing real. I talk about this a lot. But if you can change your outlook on the thing that you do fear, in this case failure, then there really is nothing for you to fear anyway. So in my opinion, there is no success without failure. Genuinely, that's how I think. It definitely didn't used to be how I think, but it certainly is now. To know what success really means to you and what it feels like, you have to have a few failures. Those failures build your resilience. Those failures teach you a lot of things. Like, there can be a lot of positives to failing. You will try new things, you'll test things, you'll tweak things, but you often have to find what doesn't work to find what does. Okay, so what is it about failure that you're afraid of? What does failure mean to you? What do you think failure brings into your life? Is it really true? Is it 100% solid fact that that's what's going to happen if you fail, again in inverted commas, at what you're trying to do? Probably not. Can you think of a time, any time in your life, that you failed, again inverted commas, and learned a valuable lesson and came out better for it in the long run? Because I can think of a million examples of that. My favorite quote, as you may know if you've been with me for a while, is sometimes on the way to the dream you get lost and find a better one. Now, the reason this is one of my favorite quotes is because I found this on a mug when I was at my rock bottom. I felt like I'd failed about 1 million times in 1 million ways in a very short space of time. Now, the way I choose to take this is that failure or obstacles are part of the course and can, and usually do, lead you on to bigger and better things. And in the end, are always something to be grateful for. I'm grateful for every single thing that's gone wrong for me in my life. Genuinely grateful for it because it's led me to where I am. So what I want you to think about when you're fearing failure is, remember, it's all about how you choose to look at it. So if you've got a journal with you, that would be good, but keep these in your head. What does failure mean to you, specifically to you? Would other people view it in the same way? For example, say 2 people make 100 grand on a launch. One person is like, oh my God, I freaking made it. I've made 100 grand on one launch. And the other person is devastated because they thought that they were going to get more. Can you see how the same thing can happen with two very different outcomes? So how else could you look at it? How else could you look at this failure, this potential failure? Does everything about failure have to be negative? How can you find a positive? Journal on those and let me know where you land. So you know the phrase, you have to kiss a lot of frogs to find your prince? I use a very similar concept in my business, that every no is leading you to the right yes. The no's normally are no for a reason. They weren't right for you anyway. And every time you get one, it leads you closer to those yeses that are right for you. So there's nothing really to fear when you think of it that way, is there? You can actually use this fear of failure as something that doesn't stop you in your tracks, but something to spur you on, to drive you forward, to get you taking the action instead of shying away from it. Because if you take the action, you're less likely to fail anyway. But how are you going to feel if you never take a chance? Are you not just going to feel like you failed anyway because you failed to even start? It's all about how you look at it, all about how you choose to look at it. So when I talk about failing versus failure, to me, failing or getting something wrong is how we learn and grow and get better. Failing in itself does not make you a failure. They are two very different things. Really, if we're honest, this fear of failure is just another of the many ways we self-sabotage our own success. If you let that little gremlin in your head stop you in your tracks and keep you stuck, you're not going to get anywhere fast. So don't let your own thoughts do that to you when they can be changed with just a little curiosity and by making a choice to find another lens to look at it through. Have an open mind, stop fearing the failure and look for the opportunity in it. Just look at all the evidence that you have. There are countless examples of hugely successful people, historically successful people who failed countless times before they were successful. They grew and learned from every single failure. Look at Thomas Edison, Henry Ford, Bill Gates, J.K. Rowling, Walt Disney. I mean, there's so many more, it's unreal. But from their failures came their biggest successes, and our lives would be infinitely more different now if they had just let failure stop them going for what they wanted. Yeah? I think Thomas Edison failed. He says, I haven't failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that haven't worked. Think of it in that way. If you can think of it in that way, then there really is nothing to fear. I can honestly tell you that now I really don't believe I've ever failed in my life. I used to think me giving up on my jewelry business was a failure, but really it was all because of a fear of it that I quit in the first place. Even though I felt embarrassed, I made excuses, I felt ashamed, it's led me down a path that is so right for me. I have to pinch myself. So can I really call it a failure? No. Now, outwardly, other people may think I failed, but that's really not my problem. It's really not my problem. As long as I know I haven't failed, there is no such thing as failure. And I trust that it will always lead me to bigger and better things. And that is proven time and time and time again. And it leads me to these things that are more right for me. Then really, what is there to fear? And what I really want to leave you with is this question. What would you do if you knew you couldn't fail? So really, really think on that one. What would you do if you knew you couldn't fail? What would you do differently if you knew you're not going to fail at it? So I hope that that was really helpful for you. And I hope you will continue to enjoy this amazing weather. And until next week, I will see you then. Bye.